I was substitute teaching for Monroe County School Corporation, and when signing up to be a substitute teacher, they asked me if what I wanted to do, what I want to teach, what would I respond to if they called asking for help. And I said, I'll do anything. I need a paycheck. And they said, what about special education? And I said, sure. And they're like, no. What about special education? And I was like, yeah, just sign me up, anything. But one of the jobs that I was given, there were two early jobs that kind of changed my life. One was, there was a young lady who utilized a wheelchair, and she needed to get out and move her body. So a job that I had was I learned how to scoop her up, and I set her gently down on this gymnastic type mat, and there was a cassette player, and there was a big red button that powered the cassette player, and the cassette player had Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA. She was to try to roll over and touch the button with her elbow to either start or stop the music. And I got to know her name, and I would encourage her, and I would just see her deep satisfaction every time she could control that device. And it was unlike any job I'd been given to do before. It was this really clear, concrete job that could come with a lot of satisfaction, helping someone do something that they weren't sure they themselves could do. And she had this sudden look of surprise and excitement every time she could trigger that music. And then I love Bruce Springsteen, so singing to her and stuff was fun. This other gentleman, I had another job. There was a gentleman who was in a wheelchair, and he explained to me that he didn't have much feeling in his fingers. So hand over hand, they asked me to put a brush in his hand, and then put my hand over his hand, and then he turned over this arm, his left arm, and I helped him brush his own arm so he could feel himself. He would put his tongue through his lips and just go, and his one arm would kind of go up, and that was his way of letting me know I like that. And so I went home that night, and I got to tell my roommates, what I did for a living that day. And sure enough, the phone rang the next day and the next day, and over time I got to work in elementary schools and high schools, and really the only days that I really went to work excited to be there was when they called me to work in special education, because I just felt this warm sense of appreciation, and the give and take of the work was very clear to see. School was ending, and rent was still going to be due, and there was not going to be a job come summer. And someone at South High School told me about Stone Belt, and they said, well, it's kind of like what you're already doing here. I was interested in the work, but I had a bachelor's degree from IU, and they were wanting to start me out at $7 an hour. And I didn't know how to tell my mom and dad that I'd gone to school and then I was going to take a job for $7 an hour. It didn't make a lot of sense on a financial level. And then I ended up taking another job as a salesman, and I was going to make, as they promised, a lot of money. But I went to a training in Indianapolis for this salesman job selling windows. What I learned in the one day at the training was how to take advantage of people and talk them into buying something that they didn't need, especially people who were older and had retirement savings and so forth. I raised my hand in the training, and it's like, guys, I appreciate, they took me out to lunch and stuff. I said, I appreciate your time and stuff today, and I appreciate you letting me sit here and learn your trade, but I don't want to do this. And Stone Belt had called and offered me a job, and I knew at that point what I wanted to do. And it was worth $7 an hour, in my mind, was like not bad when your soul was on the table. So I was so excited. I remember driving 465 back home that day, knowing what my next step was in life.